Hi, I'm Rob Cosman. Welcome to my shop. Finishing wood in my book has always been somewhat of a double-edged sword. It can be a pain in the butt. You got to do it. But at the same time, it can turn something that's okay into, wow, fantastic piece of wood. I'm going to show you finishing wood with wax, relatively new to me, but I think you might just like what you're going to see. So let me be real specific. What I've been looking for is a better finish for the small boxes I make. They're small wood hinge boxes, not a lot of surface area, but it's one of those things where you really want to make the wood look as good as it possibly can. I've sprayed them in the past, but the spray gun would knock them over. You had to be really good in order to get that last coat of finish without any surface imperfections, and going back and trying to finish or repair a top coat is time consuming. Oil's fine, except it takes lots of coats, 4 or 5 coats with a day in between in order to actually have something that gives you some protection or something that actually feels finished. So I was thrilled when I found out about this. I don't want this to turn into a product endorsement video, but you're going to end up wanting to try it when I'm done, and I'll tell you what it's like. The most incredible part of it is it's only one coat. In fact, it tells you you're not getting any advantage from adding a second or third coat. One coat. Relatively expensive, but the finish that it puts on there is beautiful, and I say that because it feels fantastic. Now, I try to finish everything from the hand plane, so that loans itself to a beautiful smooth finish, but the wax just really takes it up a notch. It just, when you pick it up, it's almost like rubbing glass. It provides I think it provides as much protection as lacquer does. We had some boxes that actually got wet accidentally. Part of the roof leaked, and it ruined the finish, but it didn't ruin it such that I couldn't go in and repair it with relative ease. It goes on and it dries almost instantly. So as soon as you put it on, you rub it off, buff it, and you're done. So it may not be the type of thing you want on your dining room table, but for small things like this that aren't going to have heavy use, and they're mostly going to be sitting there just gathering admiration, this, I think, is a great finish. So here's what I'm going to do. Trying to think, what can I do that can help you in your decision making? You can go online, you can read all the things about different waxes and compare them and whatever, and whether they're safe or they're not safe. I'll leave that part up to you. So what I'm going to do, I've got several pieces of wood, all different species. I've gone in and I've hand planed the surface, so it's going to mimic exactly what you would get in the box. And because it's such a quick process, we're going to go in, we're going to put a coat of finish on and wipe it off on each one of those, and you're going to see what the finished product looks like, so you can make your decision on whether or not this is something you might want to explore for your choice of finish. Let me tell you what we're going to work on. This is a piece of torrefied bird's eye. This is a piece of Brazilian tulip wood. It's a piece of northern white pine, piece of black walnut, piece of mahogany, piece of sapele. It's got some nice figure in it. Piece of bird's eye, piece of figured maple. You could probably call it quilted. Piece of ebony, piece of Pacific yew, piece of Claro walnut, piece of cherry, piece of Paduke with some sapwood, heartwood and sapwood, piece of Brazilian rosewood, sapwood out here, a piece of Osage orange, a piece of Macassar ebony, and a piece of kingwood. Now, I haven't done anything to these other than plane them. These are the natural colors. So let's start off with the piece of torrefied. Now, the interesting thing about torrefied, it's really hard to get a finish to dry on it because of the oil finish in particular, because of the way the wood is treated with heat. So there's what you're looking at. There's not a huge change. And I take a second or two to rub it in, but according to the container, it dries almost instantly. And what's really nice is once you buff it off, you don't have to worry about fingerprints. This really turned my crank when I realized that you could literally build a box and finish it in 5 minutes and have a really great finish on there. I don't know how much buffing you have to do, but there's the piece of bird's eye, torrefied bird's eye maple. This is a piece of tulip wood. I love this wood. It has an incredible fragrance. Not cheap. None of the exotics are really. I hope I picked out some that you actually are going to work with so that this is a little more applicable to your woodworking. Like I said, I don't know how much extra rubbing does as far as getting it into the wood, but you notice I don't have gloves on. I'm not even sure if there's a warning. No, I don't think there's anything that says you can't, to avoid getting it on your skin. Check all that out for yourself, though. I suppose anything that you get exposed to enough, you may develop allergies to it. Okay, there's your Brazilian tulip wood. Let's pick this one. So this is the figured sapele. This is what I'm using on my drawer fronts over here in my cabinet. That, by the way, has lacquer on it. The other pain with most other finishes is the treatment that you have to go back and do in between coats. And we'll take one of these at the end, spray some water on it, let it sit there for a few minutes, wipe it off, and find out what happens. I suspect it's going to give you some protection for immediate spills, but if it sits on there long enough, like a lacquer finish, it's going to show white marks. This is some really, really beautiful wood, if you can see the grain. All right, put the finished ones down here. How about a piece of, we'll just do one end of this king wood. Some of these woods, the color will actually bleed, so you got to be careful if you're building a box that has two different woods in it. Because even with the wax, what I noticed is it would some of the color would bleed over into the blonde wood. So if you mix that with bird's eye maple, you'd end up with purple bird's eye maple. You know what I mean with the color? So that's kingwood. Hey, if you like this video, we have more. Our monthly newsletter has subscriber-only content, discounts monthly on tools, and anything we bring out that's new, subscribers get first crack at it. Click on the link below. Let's get back to work. All right, for the rest of these, I'm just going to put a finish on it, and then we'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, I want to just go through and give you a close look at these. I'm going to kind of pick out the ones I think I really like what it does with the torrefied bird's eye. Can't not help liking tulip wood. The sapele, if you get the light just right, it looks really nice. I like the fact that it doesn't look like there's a finish. There's just enough there to give it a little bit of protection. This is really good for items that are going to sit on the shelf that aren't going to be handled. I'm going to try putting a little bit of water on it and see what it does. But small boxes like that, I think this is ideal. Love what it looks like with the yew. Pine, walnut's okay. I really like what it did with the bird's eye and the figured maple. Kind of hard to do anything with black ebony. It made the walnut really dark, that Claro walnut. I think it did probably the best of all was what it did with the cherry. That just I think the finish is fantastic. I've said it 100 times. Padauk, it made the rosewood darker. Yeah, on the Macassar ebony. Did a nice job on the Osage orange, and it's been on the Kingwood for a day. You can just barely see where it transitioned from where I did it and where I didn't do it. So let's take this piece of walnut, and I'm just going to spray some water on there, see if it beads up. So that's what it does. And we'll leave it on there just for a minute. Okay, that's been on there just a minute or so. So if I wipe it off, still feels the same now. So in wrapping this up, let me show you this. Had this sitting on a shelf up in the corner of the shop, and that area, we had a bad rainstorm. By the time I found this, there was a puddle of water laying on the top of this piece of holly. Box was soaked. You can see a little bit of the water damage. You can see some spots right here. Now I've since gone in and I just sanded and refinished all on these three surfaces. You can see on the back side here a little bit of water damage right there. But it was not hard to fix. I saved that little bit. I just went in and went with 320 grit paper. Careful not to change the shape of anything. This is nice and flat. And it was just a matter of going in and putting another coat on there. And that had probably sat there with that water in it for possibly half a day. Like I said, it's not waterproof, but it didn't seem to bother the wood. It took 3 or 4 days for it to dry out and go back into shape. It actually got quite twisted, but it came right back to the point where the lid would sit back on there the way it's supposed to. So this has become my favorite and my go-to finish for small boxes. You don't have to develop the skill with a spray gun. You don't have to wait days on end for oil to dry and continue recoating. And it doesn't get any simpler in terms of what you need in order to be able to apply it and use it. So now it's a commercial. It's called Renaissance Wax. It's made in England. It's expensive, but it's well worth it just in the time that saves you and the finish that you get from it. Good luck. If you like my work and enjoy my style of teaching, click on any one of these videos and help take your woodworking to the next level. I've always said, better tools make the job so much easier. If you click on the link below, the chisel and plane icon, it'll take you to our site and introduce you to all the tools that we actually manufacture right here in our shop. It'll also give you information on our online and in-person workshops.